Richard Skipper celebrates. Every show is a celebration. Each show, Richard delivers the artists you love, showcasing what makes them unique. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, Richard Skipper.
Happy Saturday, everyone, and welcome to Richard Skipper Celebrates. I am very excited about today's show because I am celebrating one of my favorite people in the business, and that's Lee Lessack. We're going to learn about his performing career and all the work that he's doing behind the scenes. For those of you who are here for the first time, my show is about celebrating artists and their body of worth. What makes a great artist? How do they get from point A to point B and beyond? Well, before we bring Lee on today to celebrate his birthday, I will acknowledge the fact that today marks 345 days since our theaters shut down. And of course, that has a dominoes effect throughout the industry and beyond. Restaurants, vendors, merchandise, backstage crew, ticket takers, ushers, everyone, they are all without work right now. So I want to take a collective pause and I want to send positive vibes to everyone that's going through whatever they're going through right now. As my dear friend David Friedman says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. You never know what someone else is going through. But I do want to say about Lee that the pandemic has not kept him down. He's busier than ever. I'm just going to give you a little sampling of one project that he's been working on. And of course, we will be talking about the other projects throughout the show. And I do mean several other projects. Here's Lee Lessack.
Absolutely smashed.
Great afternoon.
The audience went right along with it and they enjoyed it so much.
You're the best. Like them both.
It's against the law. It was against the law. What the mama saw. It was against the law.
standing ovation.
I've heard Lee for years and years, and his voice is so spectacular. He's got such a range.
It was fabulous. A great, great evening in the theater.
Happy birthday, Lee Lessack. And before
Thank you.
I want to tell you, I was at that concert.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Central Park. I climbed in a tree. I was 19 years old. And I watched it, and it was just one of the most thrilling nights of my life.
Wow.
But it's so good to see you here. Before we start, I did mention at the top of our show that today marks 345 days. It's hard to believe since our theater shut down. And I want to thank you and applaud you for all that you're doing to keep theater alive during this time frame. But once again, before we get there, I want to know how you are really in the midst of this crazy world we find ourselves in. And just a couple of weeks ago, I had my first pandemic birthday, and now you're having yours. So what does it feel like for you?
Well, it's different. That's for sure. But, there's no pressure to leave the house or anything. You know what? I'm doing okay. It is bizarre when I think about, how long this has been. I mean, I came home from a collapsed concert tour with Johnny Rogers on the 15th or 16th of March.
Couldn't you find someone better to work with? I mean, and I say that with love because I love Johnny so much.
Yeah, that was I haven't watched that promo in a while, and it was so nice, like not only to see Johnny, but Carol, Cook, and Tom. And I just spoke to them this morning. And anyway, but you know what? I am doing okay. I've gotten a lot of things done that I constantly put off because I'm touring, and if I'm home for a week, or I don't want to tackle getting my will written or doing estate planning.
No.
But we've gotten everything done. Like literally all those projects are done. And so that feels like a great, weight has been lifted, because they're the projects that have been like hanging over my head. So I'm happy about that. We've done some home renovation because, pandemic home renovating is a thing.
I know.
And so that's been, kind of fun. And, look, I have my moments. I have my moments, but overall, I'm doing good. And I'm a very anti, theater schedule person, because I wake up very early. I go to bed really early. Matinees are my favorite day. So, I've just always been in that rhythm. And so, I'm up 4 or 5 in the morning. I do hop on my Peloton at 6 every morning. And then there are those days that by 7:30 or 8 o'clock, I'm like, and now what?
Well, let me ask you, what did your calendar look like on March 11th of last year? That's when the theater shut down. Everything shut down on March 12th. What did your calendar look like on March 11th?
March 11th, Johnny and I started what was to be a 5-week tour with our Simon and Garfunkel Revisited concert. We did 2 performances in Naples, Florida on the 11th at Artist Naples. And I'll never forget it because we work there every year. And I know, everybody.
You and Johnny.
Yeah, we've been playing there for years. And I was in my dressing room, and the associate, the assistant to the executive director, Chelsea, who I know very well, knocked on the door and came in, and I went to hug her hello, and both of us took a step back, because nobody was wearing masks yet, but it was that moment of, oh, better not, like, because it was all over the news. It was weird. And then after we went to like do our meet and greet, and people were, filing out of the theater, and, I wouldn't shake anybody's hand. It was bizarre. It was just bizarre. And then the next day we drove to Fort Lauderdale, and I do pride myself on like finding the best like tour rental houses.
Mm-hmm.
And I scored like the most stunning mid-century modern rental in Fort Lauderdale. We were in heaven, and we were supposed to be there for a month. And the next day, like, everything collapsed. I mean, I was scared to check my email because every email or phone call was another cancellation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was weird.
Now, were you able to get this accommodation because of COVID? Or was it just a fluke?
No. I found this pre-COVID and booked it. It was just a really fantastic house.
Now, did you stay in Florida for the duration of the time that you were scheduled to be there?
I was going to.
Home?
Yeah, I was going to, because my partner Mark had sent me a photo of the supermarket. He went to the supermarket, which, let me just say, we've been together 28 years. And I think this was the second time he's been in a supermarket.
You do all the shopping.
Yes.
Okay.
And so he went to the supermarket and sent me a picture, and the shelves were barren. But in Florida, it wasn't like that. Like, I had just been to Publix, and, it was not like that. I mean, I think there probably wasn't a lot of toilet paper, perhaps, but there was ample food. So I thought, well, I paid for this house. I might as well stay. It was warm in Florida. It was like, I don't know, in the 50s here in LA, strangely. Anyway, I thought about it, and then I woke up the next morning and it panicked, because I thought, what if I stay and I can't get home? I mean, we didn't know what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I opened the Delta app, because Johnny and I were going from Florida after a month there to Des Moines for the final like 4 performances. And I was able to, reroute my flight home. And I had called the owner of the house. We had spoken the night before, and I said, everything is falling apart. And, and he said, well, do not stress out over this. We'll work something out with you. And they were lovely. They refunded like 50% of our rental, which I thought was very nice. And I came home, and that was that.
Was it easy to get the flight back, or were there issues?
It was. Yeah, it was. But still, nobody was wearing a mask yet. It was pre-mask. Although I tend to, just in real life, be a little bit of a germaphobe. I also don't like a lot of, I don't like to cause a lot of attention. So I am the person that for years would get on a flight and very quietly wipe down the tray. I didn't want anybody to notice me doing it, but and I remember getting on this flight home, and it was just like a wipe fest. People were sharing, passing around. Anybody got another wipe? It was such a freeing moment for me, because I could boldly wipe down everything.
Yeah.
So,
you came out of the shadows on that flight.
I did. I really did.
Well, I want to go back to Johnny for just a moment. You said that you two have been working together for several years. How did you two start working together, and what is it about Johnny? What does he bring out in you as an entertainer?
I met Johnny. I was doing a concert. I think I was doing my Johnny Mercer tribute,
which I love. I love your CD on that.
Thank you. In Chicago at Davenport's. And I came out of the theater room, the club, into the main piano bar, and Johnny was playing the piano. And I had never heard, most of piano players are, it's a bit schmaltzy, right? It's a lot of Broadway, it's a lot of, very grand playing, and, they got to keep the energy going. And Johnny wasn't like that. It was like I was listening to like Billy Joel and Nora Jones, like all mixed into one. And I really liked it. I was impressed. I didn't know who he was. I never heard of him. I introduced myself, and I just sort of...
This was quite some time ago, of course, obviously.
Oh, yeah. This is 20 years ago, probably. So I kept, in touch with him, or aware of what he was doing. He then moved to New York. And at the time, I was doing a lot of concerts with a vocal trio called Three Men and a Baby Grand, with Brian Lane Green and John Boswell. And we had booked a cruise on, I think it was Holland America. I think it was the Rotterdam, from New York to Reykjavik, Iceland. And John Boswell was not available. And so I reached out to Johnny Rogers and I said, how would you like to do this? I knew he sang really well. And so off we went. It was the most terrifying cruise we've ever been on. Literally, we were in Greenland and we got stuck in like 3 storms that like converged upon each other. I have never in 20 years of entertaining, and I've done a lot of cruise ships, I've never like been late to the final destination. We were 2 days late because we were stuck. It was awful. It was just, it was like 6.
But it must have been a great bonding experience as well for the two of you.
It was. You know what? Johnny's great. He's so musical. And he is like, I'm the person that is usually on the melody. And Johnny somehow creates a super, super safe space for me to harmonize, because I tend to doubt myself. I don't read music really. I mean, I can a little bit, but not really. And so that's like always been a little bit of an insecurity. And so I'm always happy to sing the melody line. But Johnny gives me a safe space to harmonize. I mean, if I had to, put it into one nugget, I think that would be it. I remember being on that cruise and Johnny was working on his debut solo album. So he was playing us some of the tracks, and it's all original stuff that, he wrote. And it just blew me away. And so I don't think we've ever stopped working together since then. We've had moments, because he went on tour with Liza Minnelli, bigger name, who's Lee Lessack. And then he called me, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and he said, I think you and I need to do another show together. And I was like, okay, what do you think? And he said, how about a Simon and Garfunkel tribute? And I said, I like that idea. As a booking agent, I seem to have an awareness of another tour, maybe of a Simon and Garfunkel thing. So we need to make ours like unique and different. And I was thinking of ideas, and then I just thought, what if we were to like recreate their most iconic set list of all time from September 19th, 1981 in Central Park? And then I thought, well, that's like a whole series. So I created Live in Central Park Revisited. And now we have a James Taylor, and we don't impersonate, we just recreate these set lists in the order that they were performed.
You're going to do a Diana Ross, complete with rain and stormy weather. Do you remember that? Were you in New York at that time?
I was in New York. I was in
I'll
New
never
York.
forget that night. It was all over the news. How crazy it was.
Yeah, I was in New York. I don't think we're going to do Diana Ross.
Barbra Streisand, a happening.
We do have an Andrea Bocelli and Friends, because he performed in 1983, I think it was, and Tony Bennett performed with him, and Celine Dion, and David Foster was his musical director, and Chris Botti performed, and so I do that tour with Jonathan.
Well, obviously, it's you and Johnny on stage, but tell us a little bit about the team of people that you have working behind the scenes to make this show work.
Well, I mean, Johnny and I really do most of it for our duo shows. And we do tour with an incredible guitar player, Joe Ravo, because especially in the Simon and Garfunkel show, that guitar line is like a third voice. And so where we may pick up a bass and drummer wherever we travel to, we always bring Joe with us. And so it's the three of us. And my graphic designer, Doug Haverty, created these incredible projections. So as you saw in the promo, we've got these huge projections behind us that are not images of Simon and Garfunkel. They're just, we'll take a lyric, behind Mrs. Robinson, we have, a sea of cupcakes because of a lyric in the song. So we have that element, which has really, I always shied away from that because I'm not that technical and I didn't know how that was going to work. And it actually is so simple. I mean, I literally can run the projections from my iPhone or an iPad. It's super simple. So, but we do everything ourselves. I mean, Johnny and I, we don't have a crew. We don't tour with, a tech director. I advance the show. Johnny usually reaches out to the technical director to advance the whatever the band needs are. And then, if we pick up a bass and drummer, we show up, I don't know, 3-4 hours before. We do a quick run through. We forward the charts to them in advance, but then we do a quick run through, sound check, and then we do the show. So it's not a big behind the scenes production so much. We kind of do it all ourselves. I mean, and that's where, and you know what I have to say, I've been very lucky and have toured with incredible musicians and friends over the years. Johnny is so great to tour with. I enjoy being on the road with him, and he's a team player. He never turns in an 80% performance. It's always 150%. For the first year that we did this tour, Johnny had a herniated disc.
Oh wow!
Literally, and he would do a show, you would never know, and then literally collapse on the dressing room floor in horrific pain, and never complained. Never missed a performance. So it's been a good run. And now it's pretty much the only thing I do is with Johnny.
Well, that's wonderful. But before we move on, somebody wants to say hello to you. Yes.
Happy birthday, gorgeous man.
Oh my God, I didn't know there were going to be guests.
I've got surprises up my sleeve.
All the way from Ireland, especially for you.
Oh, how are you?
Hello, Michael. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Oh, you don't know each other?
No, we don't, not at all. Well, I of course know who this gentleman is, but we've never crossed paths, despite having probably a lot of mutual friends, I'm sure.
Yes.
How are you?
Iowa, dead of winter, pandemic.
Yes. Snow.
Yeah. Honestly, it's the highlight of my year that I got an outdoor heater yesterday, and I was able to drink vodka in my yard with my neighbors. I was giddy.
Well, if you've got that, you don't need the heater. So tell me about your history together.
Johnny Rogers.
Yeah, it's not only Johnny Rogers, it's Phyllis Pastori as well. So Phyllis was the original, like, Phyllis was kind of my, she took care of me when I landed in New York when I was just off the boat. And I would hear all these great singers, and I got to know Johnny through Phyllis. And this was, I think at that point I wasn't even singing. And I started singing and then touring, and eventually we just kind of got sick of hanging out with each other in bars, and we decided to just to work together on a few projects. And now we kind of talk. We just kind of we drifted into each other, didn't we?
We did. I'll never forget. You had first approached me because you were working on your album Celt.
Oh, right. That's 20 years ago, by the way.
Jesus. And you asked.
I was a child star, Richard.
Yes, of course.
You asked me if I would release it on my LML music label, which I did, and I'll never forget. You put me in touch with your attorney to go through the agreement and whatnot, and your attorney / Abercrombie and Finch model,
like really hot attorney.
Oh my God, he's got the hottest, straightest attorney, but that's okay.
That's
and we're still friends
right there.
Robert and I are still friends, and I remember the negotiation was so lovely that I called Michael and I'm like, "Would it be okay if I hired your attorney?"
Yeah.
That was our first. And now I'm so thrilled that after all these years, my agency, LML Music Presents, represents Michael for his concert dates.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Lee, was that an easy transition for you to go into that end of the business? I mean, there are very few entertainers, and I like to use the word entertainer for you as opposed to performer. There's a difference for me, but you're a great entertainer. Was it an easy transition for you to launch this label and to get that going and started?
Well, the record label was pretty easy because I just needed a label because nobody would give me the time of day. So I, created this label just for my first album. I never had a thought beyond that. And then I was working with Brian Lane Green, and he said, would you, my first album got a lot of press. I mean, it was reviewed in Billboard Magazine, and I had a big feature in The Advocate. And I don't know. I'm a go-getter, and I didn't know. I just went after press, and so people saw that. And so Brian said, "Would you release my album?" And I had never thought about releasing someone else's album. I'll never forget. Like, I opened up a completely separate checking account for and then back then, I was doing all the royalty calculations by hand. And I thought, okay, well, I could, if I'm doing this for 2, I could probably do it for 3 or 4. And so every 6 months or a year, I would sort of just broaden my vision of what I could manage. And now, what is it, 25 years later, I have released albums for like 146 artists.
Amazing.
The catalog is probably over 300 albums because several artists have multiple recordings. It's crazy.
And it's not that just that you got the albums, but you're also booking other artists. That is a separate umbrella, if you will. And I started that because my booking agent at the time retired. And I was like, well, I can do this. I'm a good salesperson. I can figure this out. I'll never forget. I went to like my first regional booking conference. Nobody would talk to me. And I just had this one little review, a Broadway review that I toured with Joanne O'Brien, who I've known since high school.
And we started with the Community Concerts Association, which was under the umbrella of Columbia Artists Management. And that was my first foray into touring. I didn't know you could actually get paid for, putting on a show. And we did. I mean, we were doing like 50, 60 cities a year for like $1,500 a night, which was a lot for us. It was my first job, like performing, paying job.
Did you have a staff of people working with you, or were you doing it all on your own?
You're looking at him.
Yes. Yeah.
I still have the same staff.
Well,
Although I will say I have an incredible, I'm not even going to call him an assistant because he is so much more than that. Greg Camp, who years ago, I had an assistant here named Chad, who's just one of the funniest, greatest people I know. And he decided to move to New York and started a theater company. And Greg was one of the partners, the producing partners of that theater company. And I don't know, like 6 years ago, he called me and he said, I'm wondering whether my theater company should go to the APAP conference, the Arts Presenters Conference, which is the national booking conference that is in New York City every January. And, I said, I don't really have an awareness of theater companies at the conference because that's not what I do. I know concert agents, but I don't know. I said, but you know what? I have extra badges, and if you'll help me out in the booth, I'll give you a badge, and then you can go to lectures and showcases and everything else. So he and his two producing partners came to help me, and Greg was one of them, and we had a great time. And then the next year, Greg texted me and he said, could I help you out again? And I was like, okay. And then the next year I get a text, can I help you out again? And I said, well, first of all, I am so grateful that you want to hang out in my booth, but I feel like I need to pay you. Like I've overstayed my welcome. And I said, do you have any desire to like sell shows? Because then you can make money. And he said, I do. And I could tell that he had really been like watching me when I pitch ideas to, anyway, all these years later, he could literally take over this business.
He's a great agent.
He really is. And we have a great time. And he is a go-getter. It's hard to find, like you said, Richard, I'm like an artist that is like split down the middle, right brain, left brain. And most artists are not.
That's right.
But Greg does have a really strong, business sense. And I can see him, as I begin to step back a little bit, I can see him stepping forward, which is great.
Well, since that aspect of your business started off, has it pretty much been smooth sailing? Or have you had a lot of bumps in the road? Or a few bumps in the road?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure there, this business. It's like 1 year, you have like an amazing year, but because we book a year in advance, we don't follow the same tide that other businesses do. And so, when there's like a recession, your next year could be a banner year because you booked it a year before the recession. But then the year after is not so good.
Well, how are you able to compartmentalize your own personal career, your record label, and your booking career? That's 3 different businesses right there.
Well, the record label, thankfully, kind of runs itself. I had an assistant years ago who left to get his master's in music business at NYU, but now he does all the licensing, the clearance, the music clearance for American Idol. But he still does my royalties every quarter. I mean, I pay him to do that. So that is a huge, pressure taken off of my shoulders. So I have him, I have an accountant. And
I would also say, though, that the great thing about you, Lee, is that you're able to go right brain, left brain, right brain, left brain very seamlessly. So, he thinks like an artist, but he also, like, first and foremost, he's a businessman. And actually, I think that's the reason why we're friends, probably, is that we both think alike. I'm a mad fan of how he's able to do that. Not only run all those things, but he makes it look like he's having a really great time, even though sometimes it's really difficult,
Well, I want to show a glimpse of your latest project. Michael, do you want to stick around?
I can't. I'm decorating my house.
Well, I want to thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
Show this other thing, and then I've got another surprise for you. So anyway, Michael, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you.
Good buddy. So I'm going to share this glimpse of your latest project. We'll talk about this on the other side.
Okay.
We're so happy to be here. I miss going to the theater so much, Lee.
First, we're going to bring on our two princesses.
When your 2-year-old and your grandma know all the music, it's a hit.
It's such a great responsibility to have, realizing that you are that for so many people.
We would like to bring on your princess.
This is the first time I've seen Casey and Patty in all of a year.
It's weird for the theater people. We're all usually in the same place physically, and we're just not.
We can't have Christoph without Sven.
The beautiful thing is the openness, the acceptance of everybody, and duality of sistership right there. It led us through being able to open a massive show. What we did was huge.
It was a joyous ride amongst us.
For me, I got to dance with a bunch of naked Norwegians. So
yeah, come on.
It's fantastic. Occasionally, wait.
And I tripped into her face and then shook laughing through the end of the finale.
That's why people like live theater.
I know it was a treat for all of us because we all haven't been together on one, square space situation in a long time. And
very long time.
It was really fun to all be together tonight. So thank you.
Guys.
That is Kiss Robert.
You could not do a birthday show and have Lee Lessack on without me. He can't.
That's right. I know.
That's it. I'm moving in. I'm an official Lessack family member from now on.
If he's not eating eggplant with Renee Taylor, he's by your side, Lee.
Let me just say, I posted this today. The greatest gift to come out of this pandemic is this dude right here, Robert Bannon.
No, Robert and I, we found out we're neighbors. We
really
live like 10 minutes apart from each other. We still haven't seen each other. But, I watched Robert on your show, and all I can think about is when I was in school, I never had a teacher like Robert Bannon.
Oh.
No, I would have loved to have had a teacher like you.
Well, being in education, I always for years was saying I want to leave teaching. And then the pandemic happened and I said, thank God for education and health insurance. This man next to me, a year ago, we had never met. We had not had any projects. We were hoping, I'm sorry. I'm literally, my father is getting something done. I was telling Richard, so I'm sorry I had to drop him off. I'm sorry it's loud, but I wasn't going to let this go by without saying hello to Lee and wish him a happy birthday. He has been the most, I don't even know how to do this. How do we do this show, Lee? Where do I look?
You're doing fine.
He has been the most generous, kind friend. First, besides co-host, besides producer, besides record executive, besides booker, besides everything he has been a generous friend. He cares about people. He cares about me as a person. He cares about all of his friends. He's a true rare gem in show business. And
as he said on the show the other night, and I may be paraphrasing a little bit, and I don't want to offend either one of you, but he's also acting almost as your pimp.
There is that.
To be a part of the LML family, and Lee has so many. I can't do this. Lee has so many amazing artists that he works with, that he books, that he is instrumental in providing entertainment for people. So just to be a little piece of his company is a real honor. And Quarantine Cabaret and Cocktails and the Broadway Cast Reunion series has literally been the greatest, saved me this year. And it's his idea.
Well, I just showed, this was your first episode just this past week with Frozen. And you've got all these other amazing Broadway casts coming up. I know Hadestown is next for both of you, isn't that? And Robert was telling me, Lee, that you have a great story about how this all came about.
The cast reunion show?
Yes.
Yeah, so we started our weekly talk show, Quarantine Cabaret and Cocktails,
which is incredible, everybody. I steal all their material. That's what I do.
We started that 45 weeks ago on Thursdays. April 2nd was our first broadcast. We had never met in person. And when I came home from my collapsed tour, Robert had reached out with some licensing questions about his upcoming album that I'm going to release. And I think I said, why don't we chat over FaceTime tonight? Because in those first 48 hours I was home, everybody was desperate for facial connection. And so we chatted and laughed a lot. And then the next day I texted him, I'm like, are we having cocktails again? And he was like, absolutely.
Save me. I'm sorry for the mask. I don't want to get in trouble at the Holy Name Hospital Medical Center in Teaneck.
No, you don't need to.
My father.
That's okay. So anyway, every night for a week or 10 days, we at 4:30 Pacific time, we were on FaceTime. And, my partner was like, who are you talking to every day? But we just laughed a lot, and I said to him, I think we should produce a talk show. I didn't want to do a music-based show because in those early moments of quarantine, there was a lot of virtual music stuff being thrown out on the internet. And the conversation between music administrators was about what is legal, what is royalty-free, what do you need a license for? And I didn't want to get in any trouble. So I said, let's just talk. And we started inviting our friends to come and hang out with us. And randomly, I think in May, we had booked the young kid who was in previews to open in Mrs. Doubtfire on Broadway. And a friend of mine that is the casting director at North Shore Music Theater recommended him because he had done a production of Mame there. And he's adorable. And his mom texted me a week before the show and said, Jake thought it would be fun to invite some of his castmates on if you're interested. And I was like, sure. I mean, our show literally has no format. We just started doing it. And the next thing we knew, we had the entire principal cast of Mrs. Doubtfire on our show. And that was the first Broadway cast reunion. And we noticed that our live viewership spiked that week. And so then we started planning them. And we did the original Broadway cast of Sideshow, all 6 Broadway principals, and surprised them halfway through with the director, composer, and lyricist. And then we did Frozen, and we did Tootsie, and we did Aladdin. And in the fall, I was attending the annual Arts Midwest booking conference, which was virtual. And one of my clients is the programming manager at the Marcus Center in Milwaukee, which is the big Broadway tour house. It's the Symphony House, the whole bit. And he said, I'm a big fan of your weekly quarantine show, especially when you do your cast reunions. And I wonder what you're doing to monetize that. And I was like, wait, there's money?
What is monetizing?
Where?
I laugh too. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We created like a virtual tip jar for our quarantine show. 90% of the time we forget to put it up on the screen because we're busy talking. So I said, I'm not monetizing it. We did this for fun. And he said, well, as a major Broadway tour presenter whose venue will remain dark for likely another year, I think this is a great gift of engagement for my subscribers. So thus planted the seed and was born the Broadway Cast Reunion Series. And now what we've done, we had some goals in mind. Number one, we really wanted to employ out-of-work Broadway artists.
God bless you.
And so we are paying them well to sit in their living room and talk to us for an hour. And we are selling it to venues for nothing, for like $500. And they can then gift it to their season subscribers, their donors, their patrons, however many they want. And we've gotten the blessing from all the show's producers, Disney. I mean, it's been incredible. The people that have come out to go to bat for us. We randomly, I don't know if you heard this album, Richard, but the three women who play the Fates in Hadestown on Broadway released a holiday album called If the Fates Allow. And I heard it. It's gorgeous. It's stunning. And I reached out to one of them like on Instagram and I was like, do you want to come on our show? We'll promote your album. And she said, oh, that's a great idea. Please get in touch with our publicist. Well, it turns out the publicist is also the Broadway production publicist for Hadestown. So he booked them on our show, on our quarantine show. And then I said to him, Aaron, we have this idea. What do you think? And he said, I think this is incredible. And but what I'm going to do is loop you in with the marketing company that's doing the tour of Hadestown, because it feels like you're reuniting the Broadway cast in support of these tour venues that are dark. And so he did. And that gentleman, Andrew, said, I think the way we play this is we go to the producers. If the producers give it their blessing, it'll be easy to engage the cast. So he went to the producer of Hadestown. She loved it. She said, as long as they are paying my actors, I think it's brilliant.
I have a question about that. I mean, in most Broadway productions, there are so many producers involved. I'm assuming you're going after the lead producer on the show.
Yeah, well, he went. There's a woman producer for Hadestown. I don't remember. I don't know her name. I've never met her, but he asked her. She said yes, and then the Broadway publicist engaged the cast. So we have the four principal, leads, plus the director, Rachel Chavkin, and Anais Mitchell, who wrote the book, Music and Lyrics. They're all coming to chat with us on Wednesday.
That's amazing. Wednesday at what time?
At 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific.
So Robert or Lee, please post the information on my page so that people can,
Thank you.
as well.
Thank you. And again, I'm sorry, that's all due to him. This is Lee's brainchild. Lee puts the work in. We've called the venues. He has relationships with these venues. It's really been an embarrassment of riches for me personally. I want to just say thank you. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to the rest of this adventure together.
We partnered with Stellar Tickets, which is the virtual platform that Gold Star created during this pandemic. And I just want to say, because I can't even believe it. I check the ticket count every day. And I woke up this morning and we just premiered on Wednesday. It hasn't even been a week. We've sold 1,078 tickets, single tickets from around the world.
So with those shows, people have to buy the tickets in advance in order to see them.
There's two ways to see it. If you are a season subscriber to one of the venues that is purchasing the episode to share with their subscribers, then you'll get it for free as a gift from that theater.
And are the venues that this show was to play around the country they're the ones who are on board with this.
Yes. And
That's
some
amazing. Wow.
We had a venue come on yesterday in Delaware, the Grand, who subscribe, because you can subscribe to the whole series. We've committed to 6 months, so that's 12 episodes. And he's just like, he watched our episode of Frozen and he loved it. And they're not presenting half the shows that we're including, but he just thinks it's a great gift to keep his patrons engaged until their doors can open again. So so far we've got Hadestown on Wednesday, The Lion King with Heather Headley on March 10th. I'm pinching myself. On the 24th, we have Dear Evan Hansen. On April 7th.
Alton Fitzgerald part of that show as well?
Say it again.
Alton Fitzgerald.
For which show?
The Lion King.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Longest running king on Broadway.
Really?
I should put him in touch with you guys.
Please do, because we haven't heard back from everybody yet.
Yeah,
so
we're still casting.
We would love to.
He is one of the nicest guys in the business. I love him. And he's done my show. And if you have a pitch or anything, if you can send that to me, I will forward that to him.
That's our middle name is Pitch, Richard.
Yes.
I know you know the same thing.
I love it.
Welcome to my world.
I just want to say, I'm going to run back inside. I want to say happy birthday. Thank you, Richard, for inviting me. Lee, thank you for everything.
When you go, Robert, when's the CD coming out?
Well, we're getting it mixed. It's been a year. Lee is executive
Almost
producing
done.
it. And
Almost done.
Soon.
Will you come on my show when it's ready?
Are you kidding? Do you want to come on our show? I'll come on your show. You come on our show. We'll have Eggplant at Italy together. Yes.
That could be dangerous. Anytime. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate
Bye.
you.
Thank you. What a nice surprise. Look at you. I didn't know there were going to be surprises. I love it.
Well, there were a couple of other people that I reached out to, but unfortunately we were not able to make it happen. So
this is great. This is great. And I'm really proud of this new series. First of all, that we can pay artists is a great thing. I want to thank Johnny Rogers, who I called 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I feel like we need a theme song. And he was like, well, text me like a list of adjectives about your show. And he wrote a theme song.
I know. It's incredible.
I'm like tickled. And also Jonathan Hawkins, who is an incredible singer, one of my dearest friends. And in this pandemic, he has become an industry of producing live stream events. And he designed our cast reunion show, all the artwork, all the overlays, and he engineers it. See, like when I do my weekly show, I engineer it because there's no budget. But Jonathan,
right. I'm doing it all right here.
Right. So you know, and he's been great. And
it is so funny. A couple of weeks ago, I did an event for the York Theater because I don't know if you know, but they've had a massive flooding. In the theater. And for Carol Channing's birthday, I put together an event for them. And Sandra Lee, who was the original Minnie Fay, called me that night and said, oh my God, you've got to thank your sound and engineer guy. And I go, it's me. Because people think that I've got someone who's out there doing this stuff. And, so it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and I'm learning. I mean, who knew? I couldn't edit a video in iMovie a year ago, and to think, Robert and I we come up with an idea, whether it's for our weekly show or this new series, and to see it, blossom is really when you haven't left your house in a year. And I'm like one of those people that I take this pandemic seriously. Last night, my partner took me out for dinner for my birthday. It's the second time since March that I've gone to a restaurant. The second time. And the same restaurant because it's all outdoor.
Mm-hmm.
But, I do not leave the house except to walk the dogs. I don't go anywhere. I have all my groceries delivered. I'm not messing around, and it's a long time. So to be able to create something in that sphere is it's crazy to me. And when I look at our ticket counts and I think people like it, it's feeding souls, you know, who really miss
And
live theater.
that's not under the umbrella of your quarantine show that you do. They're two different entities.
Yes, and it is boldly for profit, and you know, and so far, I mean, I have never felt happier than Thursday morning when I wrote checks to Casey and Patty and Jelani, and it was so joyous to be able to.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
You know, so
and you know, are you thinking of also doing older cast? I mean, from years ago that
I am, like, for instance, for Cats, I thought, well, I don't think a lot of people know who was in the recent revival of Cats, but I could get Ken Page, my good friend, and Betty Buckley, who's a friend, and, you know, Terrence Mann and Charlotte D'Amboise. That would be cool. And then I took it to the PR marketing company that does the Cats tour, and they reached out to the Really Useful company, Andrew Lloyd Webber's company in London, and they said, well, maybe we should do the original cast, which would be like Elaine Page. And I was just like, are you shitting me? So, I don't know what it's going to be, but for shows like that, yes. And
well, I will say this, Lee, the sky's the limit. It truly is. And if anyone can make it happen, it's you. I can't believe this, but we are at the end of our show.
I know. It's crazy.
And I just wanted to say, you know, it was so funny because first, I love the fact that you and Robert, number one, you have this incredible chemistry together. I love your shows. I just sit on the sidelines and laugh at the two of you, because, you know, you have been in the business a long, long time. And I don't know a lot about Robert, but he's got this way of looking at everything and everybody that is so excited, you know, like the other night with Leslie Ann Warren. And by the way, I've got a show coming up celebrating John Davidson, and Leslie is going to be a part of that. So anyway, nice. She's already filmed something and sent it to me, and she's just, I love her. She will always be my Cinderella.
Of course. She was, that was a treat because, you know.
Had you met her before?
Oh, no.
How did that come about?
So her and Renee Taylor have the same concert booking agent. And I've known
I know who that is.
Scott.
Yes.
Yes. I've known Scott since he moved to LA, you know, 20 some years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So he, you know, I had Rita, his wife, Rita McKenzie.
Yes, I love Rita.
When we did we did the Ruthless reunion, she was on, and he said, I love that you guys are doing this. This is so great. And I said, well, if you have any clients that want to promote something. And he said, well, what about Leslie Ann Warren and Renee Taylor? And I was like, are you kidding me?
I love her so much.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to run out of time. I wanted to thank you so much. Happy birthday, the happiest of birthdays. I want to thank everybody who tuned in today. If you enjoyed the show, I hope you did. And whatever platform you're listening to this on, whether it be on a podcast or on YouTube, or if you happen to be watching it right now on Facebook, and if you haven't done so already, please go to my website and sign my guest book, richardskipper.com, with your thoughts about the show. That helps to boost us in other markets. I also want to let everyone know, if you happen to be around are you doing anything Monday night? Do you have a show Monday night, Lee?
Oh, you're asking me. Monday.
Yeah.
No.
Then I can promote mine.
Yes, you can.
So I've got Steve March Torme, Mel Torme's son, is joining us on Monday night at 5 o'clock. I always am respectful to my guest. I don't want to promote anything.
How often are you doing this show?
I do it almost every day. I'm off tomorrow. I have nothing tomorrow. I'm taking a Sunday off so that my husband and I can have a day together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we haven't had enough time to catch up. So you're gonna have to come on our quarantine show.
I would love it, and I want to have you back sometime.
Any Thursday.
You pick the date and time, and I'm there. And I also want to let everyone know that I end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Go to your Facebook friends list, and the second name that pops up, reach out to that person and let them know what they mean to you. Not with a text, not with an email, not with a private message, a phone call. Again, as David Friedman says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. And you don't know what someone else is going through until you reach out to them. And Lee, I love you so much. And I love you too. Final word, anything that you want to expound upon that we talked about today that you just want to add to, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any message that you want to put out to everyone who's watching now. And again, happy birthday, and thank you for all you do.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know what? I'm thrilled to be here. I'm not a big birthday celebrator. So when you asked me to do this, I was like, but you know what? This was great. This was great. And I appreciate you and all that you do. You are one of the most supportive artists out there. You always have been. And it was great. A few years ago, I didn't even know until like a few weeks before when we got on the phone and we're chatting, when our dear, dear mutual friend Carol Cook made her cabaret debut at 54 Below at 95 years young.
Can I say something about that? I want to say something about that. My dear friend Russ Woolley and I, we were talking one night and we decided that we wanted to book her at Feinstein's 54 Below. At that time, she was 94, 95,
okay. Yep.
94, 95. And so I reached out to Feinstein's 54 Below. And obviously, you know, they've got a young booking person there. But I said, you may not know Carol Cook, but she has a rich history in New York. And I don't think she's performed in New York since 42nd Street. Right. And so we want to book her there. And I'd like to book 2 nights. And she said, well, we're not so sure how it would sell. So let's book the one night and see how it goes. 2 days later, they called me and they said, what are you doing? She's almost sold out. And I said, I told you. So we booked her a second night and she sold out for that as well. She came out on that stage and she had that audience eating. Well, I envy the fact that you get a chance to see her, because with me, it's just the phone calls and everything. Yeah. But she has become a good friend, and she'll call my husband, Danny. She'll say, Richard, I love you, but I love that Danny more. I want to talk to her. She's just the best.
She's the best.
Anyway, continue with what you were saying. I love her.
I didn't realize until we had spoken that you made that happen. Of course, Mark and I were there for both shows, would not have missed it for anything. Carol is now 97. Tom, her husband, is 92. And last night, we moved them into the most beautiful condo assisted living place, which is overdue. But, and you know, that's a big deal. It's a big change. They've been in the same house for 42 years, I think, or 45 years. But I just spoke to her right before we did our sound check this morning, and they're in heaven. They just love it, you know.
Happy. Make sure that I get all the information so I can,
I will.
You know, I'll send them my housewarming gift.
I will.
Thank you so much. Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
So enjoy your birthday.
I'm gonna.
Thank you. Bye.